I was gonna say Nazis and neo-Nazis and fascists came up quite a bit while
A
we were
lot.
talking, and I like that we didn't really shy away from it. Like they were like, "This is what the story is about. Star Wars is political, though it always has been from the start. So let's talk about it."
Hey guys, welcome to the Rogue 3 podcast. We are here with you today to talk about our experience at DragonCon. This was the first convention we've been to at all, or definitely our first DragonCon. And so we're really excited to share experience with you, share some things we learned, perhaps for next year, because there absolutely will be a next year. It was terrific. But first, we're going to go ahead and start with our week in Star Wars. So we're going to talk a little bit about how did we experience Star Wars this week. Mike, would you like to start?
Yeah, I've been still on the TV grind and going back, and I finished a rewatch of Resistance Season 1, which I've only watched one time. So this is my second time watching it through, and I'm going to wait on Season 2, but I wanted to go and watch Kenobi. Again, I've only watched that, I think, 2 times through. So even though it's been out for a bit, I've only watched that one 2 times through. And then, of course, for our next episode, I know it was delayed a little bit, but I've been starting Bad Batch Sanctuary. And I'm only about 50 to 70 pages in, but it's been really, really good so far. Everyone feels very nice. But you'll hear more about that in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, I finished up Sanctuary, and I really loved it. I thought it was super fun. And I'm excited for us to do that for our next episode.
I went rogue and I read Rogue One, the adult novelization this week. Loved it. Written by Alexander Freed, who also did Mask of Fear. Every book I've read by him has been amazing. He has such a voice for Star Wars. I loved it, and really excited to keep plowing on through the books. I'm probably going to start Sanctuary, a Bad Batch novel, tomorrow, so that we can prepare for our next episode. I've also just been playing a crap ton of Lego Star Wars. Love it. So fun. So nostalgic. But any other thoughts, guys?
I think our next topic is our real next week in Star Wars. We've been doing this week in Star Wars. So
yeah, really.
Just dive right in.
DragonCon was a 5-day Star Wars adventure, really.
You know what? It really was. First of all, so glad that we did it. I mean, it was one of the most amazing experiences. I don't surround myself with a lot of people like us, so it's really cool to be able to just be around people who like dorky stuff. It's fun.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about like our big overall impressions for our first DragonCon, our first convention of any type ever? Because none of us had ever done anything like that. So how did you guys come out of it? How did you feel it went, and what did you like?
I thought it was incredible. I was very overwhelmed, but in a really great way. So I'm from it. I've lived in Atlanta for 5 years now, and so I've been around DragonCon. I've never attended. For those of you that aren't familiar, DragonCon is Atlanta's big kind of like nerd comic convention, and it's been going on since the 80s, which I also did not realize, and it's massive. Now, I want to say I read somewhere around 100,000 people attend, and it definitely felt like it. there was a lot of people. It takes place in the heart of Atlanta, between 5 different hotels that are right next to each other. And these are like enormous hotels, and you're never alone.
Yeah.
And so it was a very surreal experience, but it was so much fun. I wasn't really sure what to expect going in, and I would say it largely exceeded my expectations.
That feeling of never being alone, it's so interesting, and it's so true. I think maybe the first night we were there, I found this beautiful, lovely bathroom in the Marriott and safe place to gather my thoughts and to venture forth. I really don't enjoy being in large crowds. It's just not my vibe. But this didn't bother me as much. I don't know why it didn't, but it was, for what it was very well organized. If they hadn't been doing this for, almost 30 years and we're almost approaching 40, aren't we? 40 years of doing this. Maybe it wouldn't have been as well organized, but everything flowed very nicely. And for having so many people there, it really felt good. It was nice to meet a lot of different people who are a part of our community. And it was just excited to be at a convention. We've never been to one before. So it was really cool.
Yeah, I've heard about all of these different conventions. I grew up near Chicago, so I've heard of C2E2. I've heard about San Diego Comic Con and how crazy that was. And DragonCon was relatively new for me. I hadn't heard about it until the last few years. But it is amazing to see that it's a fan run convention in the best
Right.
possible way. It shows so much that it's just a lot of fans. The cosplay was amazing. The setup was amazing. Everything felt easy to get to and understand and all of that stuff. Once you get into it, it was a little intimidating to see the schedule at first, but by the end of it, I was like, wow, I'm ready to do that again.
It certainly didn't feel commercial. It didn't feel like a MegaCon commercially type thing. It really felt like there was a lot of love put into this convention, and it really felt like it was still in the hands of the fans who were putting on panels and everything. They loved it, and even though there were celebrities there and stuff, it still felt like it was organized by fans and not some mega corporation putting on a convention for dorks.
And the amount of like DragonCon, like deep lore merchandise and clothes
Right?
and tattoos and things people had was truly astounding. Like I didn't realize people could be so affectionate about like a carpet pattern. Like there was this one carpet pattern, like all these people were wearing like shirts and dresses and stuff. People had tattoos of this thing. And like that's just like one example of like how dedicated people are to this.
And there's really nothing more to that carpet pattern than just that it was the carpet pattern at one of the hotels at one point. It's not even there anymore.
It's not even there.
But I love it. It's really cool to have this culture all of its own.
I think one of those other cultural things that really caught me off guard because I'd never heard of it before, wouldn't have even imagined, is I have my badge here with all of the ribbons. And I only got maybe a few ribbons from a few different people, but so many people had so many ribbons, passing them out, giving them people. That was so cool that it people had like these giant, almost like banners of ribbons that they created, which was just so cool to see, like this like culture that's developed over almost 40 years into this really amazing place. I'm ready to go back, like I said.
I saw a picture on Instagram this week of, I don't know if this was like a competition or what, but it was of people holding their badges up over a balcony and seeing whose badges were the longest, which was wild. I would see people have them wrapped around their arms, like they were, walking with like a ball gown down the hall. It was very elegant. Our first little ribbon that we got says, "We are brave, Your Highness." We met the handmaidens, which was really, really cool. And we got a couple of little ribbons that said that, and that was really, really special.
Yeah, so for our time there, we saw a lot of cosplayers. There's so many people, so many different events going on. But the thing that we really kind of focused on for the most part is looking at panels. Mm-hmm. That was what we knew we wanted to do going in. We wanted to go to all of these different panels that were going on, whether they were fan panels or actor panels or professional panels, all of these. And so we went to, I think, 8 to 10 different panels over the course of the 5 days that we were there. So what stood out for you guys as your favorite panels that we went to?
Well, like we said, this was very much it felt like a fan organized affair. And so from what there's different tracks and such for different interests. And so Star Wars has its own track. And of course, we're here to look at Star Wars. And so the family that was organizing the Star Wars track panels, a lot of those panels were fan panels where it wasn't necessarily like a celebrity or anyone who was coming out to talk to people, but it was fans talking to fans, which was really cool. One of my absolute favorite panels was "Why Did the Empire Fail?" The reason for that, they got experts to come on and talk to us. And you might think, well, then they're not fans. Well, these are Star Wars fans who are also working in government, talking about concepts within government and explaining why the, I guess, dream of the Empire was incompatible with life in the galaxy and why it was always doomed to fail. And it was just fascinating. And we didn't touch on it too much, but it was interesting to kind of see the parallels between real world government and real world events and imperial events and how the Empire was always doomed to fall apart.
I was gonna say Nazis and neo-Nazis and fascists came up quite a bit while
A
we were
lot.
talking, and I like that we didn't really shy away from it. Like they were like, "This is what the story is about. Star Wars is political, though it always has been from the start. So let's talk about it in both that story, but also our real world." And that was really awesome to see them dive into those topics.
It really was. And, all of these panels ended with fan questions. And so a lot of fans came up with questions that were, genuinely talking about modern politics and how are we seeing similar events happening, we're US based, so in our country right now. And it's just interesting to see those parallels and to hear actual experts of their field talk about it. So it's really, really in that panel, especially special that they were able to get those people. They all had an incredible knowledge base and knew what they were talking about. And, this wasn't the only fan panel that we went to. We went to several of them and, they all didn't have the same wow factor for me by the end of it. Not everyone has the same knowledge base coming into this. And so it made the panels feel a little bit uneven at times.
Yeah, like not some panels are going to like resonate with you more than others, and I think the important thing to remember is like all of these people getting on these stage are fans, and these are not like people working for Lucasfilm or Star Wars or anything. These people that are getting up there to talk about something they love, and it's not easy to get on stage and talk about this in front of people. We all go online and see how people react to having like a wrong opinion about Star Wars. It can get pretty toxic. And so I definitely think, even if it wasn't like my favorite all the time, I definitely give everybody props for getting on stage and doing that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And none of the fan panels got into toxicity, really.
No, it
They
was a
all
very
stayed very
positive
positive.
environment.
Yeah.
It was
all-
actually, I was impressed, actually. I was a little worried going into it that we'd see some fans who weren't as positive. Everyone at DragonCon was, at least our sphere, I'm going to speak to our sphere only, was very positive. And that was fun. It was people who genuinely liked this stuff and cared about it. And that's what made it so fun. And that's why some of these online spaces aren't as fun. And, that's really why we started this podcast in the first place, was because we wanted to create an online space. I know there's several other creators within Star Wars doing this too, but to create our own little slice of positive Star Wars online.
Yeah. So talking about some Star Wars positivity that we encountered there, we also went to some actor and professional panels that also brought a lot of positivity, a lot of fun. So, Austin, do you want to talk a little bit about some of the professional actor panels that we saw and what you liked about them?
Absolutely. So we went to 3 different professional panels. One was with Star Wars authors. So it was several authors who have written both current canon novels and also some legends, older legends novels as well. And that was really fun, particularly getting to talk to Delilah Dawson, who's written some of my favorite Star Wars books. That was great. Industrial Light and Magic, the special effects company that does all the Star Wars special effects, they were there. That was a really fun panel. Getting to hear some good anecdotes there. But my kind of surprise favorite, going in, I was thinking this would probably be the one that was least informative. Was the actors panel, just because the authors and like people that work on the films, they have like more. You think they're gonna have like higher tier knowledge to share about the stuff, but the actors gave really valuable insight into the acting process. I think they did the actors panel 3 times, and we saw the first one, which it was mostly the same lineup with like a few people swapped out here and there. But it was Katie Sackhoff, who plays Bo-Katan, Matt Wood, who plays he plays a lot of voices, but he's the droids and General Grievous most famously, and then Diana Lee Asanto, who plays Morgan Elsbeth, the villain from Ahsoka, who was a delight.
She was a delight.
I want to spend time with her.
I adore her.
Yeah.
I wanted to go meet her in the hall. What is it called?
Hall of Fame.
The Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Afterwards, but I just didn't have a chance to do that.
Let's see who else was there.
Sam Witwer was there.
Sam Witwer, who does
yeah.
Darth Maul. He was fantastic, and he does these things a lot. And so Yeah, he was very much. He and Katie were very much in their element.
They
And
were.
they were very much like this was like coming home for them.
There was a
Um,
big Battlestar Galactica following in the room
There
too.
sure
Both of them were
was.
on the newer Battlestar Galactica, so there were a lot of shout outs about that.
And then there was also Simon.
Yeah.
oh yeah, Simon who plays Max or Axe Woves in The Mandalorian. He was there, and this was I think he said his first con.
I think so. Yeah.
And so that was he was having a really good time. But they were all like very like informative. They all gave like really good responses to the questions. The
Very down to
armor.
earth.
Elizabeth Swallow.
Duh.
She was the last one.
Emily
Yeah,
Swallow.
Emily Swallow. Yes, she was the last one. And she was also really great.
Yeah.
They all gave really thoughtful answers, except for the question about lightsaber color. That was a little odd.
They were having fun. They were having fun.
They were having fun.
Which
but
is
you
fun.
could
They were
tell
very down to earth people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
They all felt like people I wanted to know. None of them felt like full of themselves, like Hollywood people.
Right.
I highly encourage you to go on Diana Leanna Santos TikTok because she like fully documented her DragonCon experience like incredibly thoroughly on there. So I think it will give you a good read on what she was up to for the
I
weekend.
hope to see her next year. I might want to go get a picture with her next year.
Yes.
One thing that I really liked about the actors is that they also had a lot of different knowledge about their characters and what they were doing. They talked a lot about Dave Filoni and working with him in different ways. It was really, really kind of cool to see the different knowledge that they brought and bring to Star Wars, as some are still involved. Some were mentioned, didn't talk very much about Maul Shadow Lord, but it was really cool to see them.
And then, Mike, you had you went to talk about a very special panel. It's not really a panel so much as it is an event,
an experience. Yeah,
an experience.
If you've been listening, one of the big things that I've been working towards and hoping to be able to do is to compete in the Star Wars trivia. We all took the pre-test, the written 50-question test, and unfortunately, I was one answer short of being up on stage. So I was just barely missing the cutoff, which I think this was said to be one of the easiest pre-tests there has been.
Yeah.
The cutoff was 38. I got 37. I missed a few that I should have gotten, but I thought they were trick questions and should have known that there are no trick questions on that test. But we still, of course, went to the finals and watched, and it was so much fun. Daniel, who is the host of the trivia, he was able to be back after hosting from Australia for a few years, and got to hear a little bit about his story being the host for many, many years now.
Many years, yeah.
Awesome. He was so funny and so good with it, and not taking it so seriously. And that was very much what the panelists, that the people on stage were also not taking it so seriously. They were all having fun. And that, I think, is really what you want in a trivia. Like, you want to compete, but you also want to have a lot of fun. And props to all the people that made it up there. I studied and tried for the last 6 months to learn a lot more, and I have learned a lot more. But wow, those people, I would not have competed up there on that stage. I would not have gotten very far. Especially for the person who got up there. He came all the way from Australia. He barely missed questions at like maybe just a couple.
I was so impressed.
Finals. Yeah. He had been studying for 2 years, going through all of the canon. So props to him, because he worked really hard for it and was a really nice guy. We got to talk with him afterwards.
So nice.
Find out that him and his wife were doing a big, like, month-long road trip. They started in California, went to Galaxy's Edge, and then we're doing a big road trip down the East Coast of the US as a big experience for them. So that was a really great experience. And I got to learn a lot more about how the trivia is set up. So yeah, I can guarantee you next year I'm going to be taking that test. I'm going to be hopefully up on stage for the first time, but we'll see. It was a lot of fun, whether you're up on stage or not. If you're going to DragonCon, I encourage you, check out the finals, because it was a blast.
For reference, the test was 50 questions, and you had to get the top 8 make it to the final stage. And this year you had to get 38 points. Mike got 37. Austin and I both got 31. which is
Which
still
was well above the
yeah.
average.
So the average was a 17. So we all did pretty well. And after having watched the finale, I'm quite comfortable having not got up on the stage.
We're still
After
Austin and I are
watching
going to take the test next year, but we're gonna write on the test that we will not be participating in the final. I just can't do that to myself. I would just get so much anxiety. It would upset me. But I'm so pleased. Go on.
As if you're curious about the test, you can find it online. They posted it immediately after we took it. You can go take it for yourself. And it kind of gives you a frame of reference for like how difficult it is.
Yeah.
And if you find that test very challenging, imagine the finale round being like 4 times.
Well, it was so funny because the first couple rounds of the final, I was like, wait, these are easy. I'm getting all of these right. And then it just got worse. Yep. And so the first half of the final, I think I would have done pretty well in. Second half of the final, awful. Would have done just so many things. Like, here's a ship. What is it? Here's a gun. I don't know. I don't do that. Even having read everything, which, by the way, I just read Rogue One. The answers to both the Hammerhead class Lightbringer and Chirrut's combat style, both from that book.
There we go.
From that book.
You got to read
funny to see that.
You got to know everything. It's in the comics, it's in the books, movies, TV shows, all of it. Reference
kids
material.
Kids video. I feel so bad for someone who just watches the movies who went and they would have gotten like 2 right.
Yeah, if that.
Well, it is not meant for someone who just watches the movies. But the panels weren't the whole thing. We also had a lot of really cool experiences outside of the panels. Mike, what do you think? What was your favorite part of the external to the panels?
Yeah, from the start to the end, I think one of the things that kind of almost shocked me that was really, really fun was waiting in line. I mean, we got to our panels really, really early, but everyone is waiting in line. Everyone's talking about the same things. There's so many people who are dressed up doing their cosplay or have other stuff going on. And you just start talking about a love of Star Wars with them. And we made so many different friends, so many different people we met that had awesome cosplays. They're doing awesome art and all different sorts of things. And that was one of the things that I didn't really expect. Even like waiting in line for longer things like the vendor hall and different activities and things was just really, really cool to just get to know so many people that are just there to have a good time, basically there to have fun and talk about the things that they love. And so we often got in lines pretty early, and had a lot of time to get to know a lot of really cool people. And it was just a blast to wait in line, which I usually hate waiting in lines. I don't go to theme parks. I don't go to amusement parks because I don't want to spend a lot of money to wait in lines. But that was very much part of the experience that I really enjoyed, was just talking with people, seeing the droids in the area where the Star Wars room was really cool. And just a lot of other stuff going on was really awesome while you're waiting. So I really, really enjoyed that part of it, even though it's kind of silly sounding.
And it gives you a good opportunity to like see all the cosplays and all that stuff. We saw so many good costumes that people had made. I think the number one highlight for me was the woman who made the Dedra Miro costume. Dedra's the female antagonist in Andor, and she had the famous scene where Director Krennic puts his finger on her head. She had like paper mache a hand and like glued it to the top of her head. It was just incredible. And that was just like one of like a million brilliant things we saw.
We were always on the lookout for handmaidens and Padmes, and we ran into quite a few as well.
So many Padmes. It's so heartening because when we're out and about, people don't really talk about Padme, or if they do, it's not always nice. And so people love Padme. People who cosplay love Padme. So that was really special.
Another thing that was really great was the vendor hall. So that's where people go and sell their wares, whatever those may be. And it was, calling it a vendor hall seems like a bit of an understatement. Like it was 4 floors of very large rooms with just stuff being sold for like, I mean, there had to have been a couple hundred vendors there. It was
like a
insane.
grand bazaar.
Yeah,
Mhm,
truly.
mhm.
So the way it was organized was floors 1, 2, and 3 were all vendors, and there was not really, as far as I could tell, any rhyme or reason. I think people just paid for a booth, and whatever booth they paid for was where they were. It wasn't like T-shirts are over here and pins are over here, and like woodworking is over here. Like it was just kind of all mixed in. But the fourth
That's cool.
floor was Artist Alley, which actually I don't think Foster and Mike, you guys ever made it up there.
No, we never
Um,
did. We had
Nope,
to get to a
I
panel.
did not. Yeah.
but it was really cool, and it was lots of artists selling their work, and several like professional artists were like signing art and everything. That was really great. But we all bought several things. If anybody wants to show off any of their purchases, Mike, you're wearing one.
My shirt, yeah. Join the resistance. I got 2 shirts. The one's join the rebellion, one's join the resistance. I like them being on theme, and I needed some new Star Wars shirts, so that was what I was on the lookout for. I'm not a big shopper, but I knew what I was looking for, so I was able to find some good ones there.
Austin, I think you have all of our purchases with all
Yeah,
of your money.
Austin left all of his purchases at my place, but we got a couple. So we got this is my first Black Series figure. It's
Mm.
handmaiden Queen Amidala from the Battle of Naboo. That was really awesome. They had so many Black Series, like ones I had never even heard of before. That was what was the name of that shop?
Rebel Base Comics. So I do want to give a shout out to Rebel Base Comics. They're in Charlotte, North Carolina. It looks like they're just celebrating 30 years. They were terrific. We were working with one vendor there. She was so lovely, and just the customer service was amazing. So we had a great time with them. So Rebel Base Comics, if you're ever in Charlotte, North Carolina, or at a convention with them, they rock.
We told her that we liked Padme, and she gave us this little like Padme beanie plush straight from 1999.
It was so
Um,
cute.
it's
I'm
very
so happy
cute.
that we have that as part of our collection.
And then another one I wanted to shout out was his name's Davey Beauchamp, and he makes these really awesome art pieces that are sheet music from famous like movies and like nerd pop culture movies and TV shows, and it puts the sheet music with the characters over it. So I got this one for Across the Stars from Attack of the Clones. That's Austin and mine's favorite. We got a couple different ones. I got Mike one for Battle of the
Mhm.
Heroes, and they were doing a buy one get one free thing. So I got one for Skeleton Crew with the boy
Yay,
Neil on.
Neil! I love it. Neil is just my
Neil's the
heart and my
best.
soul. I love him
Yeah.
so much.
So that was really cool. He was fantastic. Highly encourage you to check out his Instagram. You can get to his shop. He had a lot of really cool things, and definitely not just Star Wars. He had Marvel, Disney, all sorts of TV shows. But then like what we're covering right now is like just a smidgen of what you get by the people were like forging swords and like
It was
all these
wild.
like wood carvings and stuff. And there was, if you can fathom it, it was there. Somebody had a tea shop where they made like teas themes to different characters, and
Oh wow.
it was really cool.
A lot of Lego, a lot of just in general.
Yeah.
I do want to take this opportunity to talk about. We saw John Jackson Miller at the vendor hall.
Mhm.
We did also, if you've seen our Instagram, go get several of our books signed. I was so pleased to get my hardcover of A New Dawn signed by John Jackson Miller. If you're watching the YouTube, this is the copy right here. It's terrific. It's one of my favorite books in my collection just because it's so hard to get. And I got it right when it was released. And so it was such a joy to get that signed by him. He's lovely. All the authors we met there were so lovely. They all have a lot of Star Wars opinions.
All the professionals were a lot of fun, and there was one professional that we didn't know was going to be there until about a month out, maybe like 3 weeks it felt like, and
that's right.
we got to see John Boyega. So
we did. So when you go to, for those of you who haven't been to a convention at all, you can go get your photos with lots of celebrities. It does cost money. It cost, I think it was about $140 for us to get our photo with him. Luckily, it's not per person, so it's per shot. So we all three just split the $140. Austin, if you'd hold that up one more time.
Yeah.
You literally fly in there, fly out. We said hi, we shook his hand, we took a picture, and then we left. And as soon as we left, they were like, wait, don't leave. Turns out my glasses made a horrible glare. And for $140, Thank you for catching that, because that would have been a just horrific picture to get stuck with. And so they actually retook it. We got to hang back and talk to John a little bit more, and then it happened again. So we we had to retake it another time. But so we got a little bit more time with John than you might normally get, which was very special.
I want to emphasize the pictures are fantastic. Like I rarely like pictures of myself. I look like really good in this picture.
Terrific. They look so good.
And John Boyega was like super friendly, like so kind and bubbly. But I do want to emphasize, like, this is not the time to like pour out your heart and soul and to tell him what like movies mean to you. Like we were, like, in the grand scheme of like all that we cover, we were maybe in there for 30 seconds. Like, it is a very, very, and that's because of the extended like retakes of the pictures and things like that.
It's funny, when we were leaving, we were like, as fast as it was going through, John, the reason John's so friendly is because he's just seeing ka-ching, 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 ka-ching all these photos. I mean, I'm sure he is genuinely very friendly.
Yeah, he was like, he was at least acting friendly. So excited to see us, and like, he did not, even though it was rushed, he did not make us feel rushed.
No, he did not make us feel rushed at all. We got nice handshake, good firm handshake too. Good for him. Yeah. And then he slung his arm around Mike.
Yeah, that was what I was gonna say. Is like when we had to do this, like when he just like threw his arm around me, and I was like, oh my god, okay, I'm okay with this. I like this. And it was,
and
he's
hunched over in that picture. He's a big guy.
He is tall.
Yeah, he was like a lot taller than I thought he was.
Yeah, and that was the only time we saw him, because we decided, well, we're going to do the photo with him, so we won't do the actor panels. But I love that he was at those actor panels as well. So you have kind of multiple times to see a lot of these people, these professionals that we've talked about. And that's where I'll shout out the Walk of Fame, where you have when they're not doing photo shoots like that, they're often at tables doing autographs, doing selfies, doing different things. And you can usually find them all kind of scattered around that room. So if you see some people and you don't want to get a professional photo like that, the selfies are usually cheaper, autographs are usually cheaper. You might get a little bit more time there, depending on who it is, how long the line is, stuff like that. So it's something to pay attention to while you're going.
Yeah, I was very happy with our very expensive photo. I'm sure a selfie is lovely. The photo is so good. I just can't iterate enough how good that picture is. It was very well taken. So I hope that's the case with all of these, if I'm going to continue shelling out money like this.
So we learned a lot while we were there. We learned a lot of lessons for our first con, our first DragonCon. So what are some of the most important lessons that you guys took away that we'll be using next year?
So I think the biggest one, and there's like kind of some subcategories within this lesson, but it's just like lines and like what to expect waiting in line. So we were, I would say, generally speaking, very aggressive with our line, like getting in line. I think we generally got in line at least an hour ahead for everything, and that was not always necessary. So I would say in general for fan panels, you don't need to be in line that early. I don't think we ever had any of the Star Wars panels. I guess I can't speak for non-Star Wars things, but I don't think there was ever a Star Wars panel that we went to, a fan panel, where we could not have just like walked in right at the end and gotten a seat. Now, a lot of times they would fill up. They would fill up as the panel went on. Like people showing up, like after they started, it might fill up. But I don't think there was a single one where, as the panel started, there were not still seats available. So I would say like 30 minutes for the fan panels is a pretty good time to be in line. For the like the professional panels, we got in line again about an hour, and because of that, we got really good seats. And so that was fun. So like if that's important to you, I would recommend it. Again, even with those big panels, I think you could probably still come in right at the end and get a seat. But you, especially depending on the orientation of the room, you may be really far away. Some of those rooms are like very like long and skinny. And in those scenarios, you're going to be like really far away from the stage.
I think it's the ballrooms, right? Are the long and skinny ones with the actors. And yeah, we got in like an hour, maybe even earlier than an hour.
A little earlier. Yeah.
And we were, for the big actors one we went to, we were maybe like fourth row, fifth row.
It was
something like that.
amazing and worth the wait. That part
That
was
one
worth
was
the wait.
yeah.
We
that was
didn't
worth it.
depend on the screens to be able to see anyone. I could just
Mhm.
see them talking right there, and
Yep.
it was terrific.
Yeah.
So that one, it was worth getting there early and waiting in line. Others, maybe not as much.
I would say the line that we did not a lot of time for was the vendor hall line. So we went to the vendor hall, I believe it was Sunday. So we attempted it on Saturday and we gave up because we didn't have enough time to make it to our next panel. But on Sunday, we're like, we just got to do it. We just got to get in line and do it. And we waited probably a little over 2 hours. Like, it was a very long time. And America's Mart is the name of the building that the vendor hall is, and it's an entire city block. And we essentially lapped the city block twice. And
Some people
that
were getting in
included,
line well after we did too.
yes. And that included that the switchback included like a giant loading dock room inside the building where they had people going in lines like back and forth. It was a long time. It was made better by the fact that like randomly out of all the people there, like one of my high school best friends who I hadn't spoken to in 9 years, like ended up getting in line behind us. So that took about an hour of like catching up. That took about an hour of the time. So that made it a little better. But I think particularly if you're very serious about buying something, like if you're really into collecting specific things, I would recommend going on like Friday morning, which is like the first day, and just like hunkering down and waiting the line. I went back on Monday when Austin and Mike went to a panel, and because there was something there, I wanted to look at more things and ended up buying a good bit. But um, I went back on Monday and I didn't wait more than 30 minutes. Like it moved pretty quickly. So if you just want to get into the vendor hall and you don't care that much about like buying like rare things, I think Monday's a good time to go.
If you're
One
trying
of
to
the
get
things
something rare though, Friday morning for sure.
Yeah. One of the nice things we learned that we weren't sure of is that all of the vendors have to stay through Monday.
Yeah.
And so it's not like, oh, some will, be gone Sunday, they'll leave and not be there Monday. They're all there. So if you're not that serious about specific things, just more general experience, I'd say Monday's a good bet.
Yeah, for sure. My big lesson is very DragonCon specific. We would walk across the streets, we would go around buildings, and we realized on like Saturday that we didn't have to be doing all of that. All of the hotels are connected by sky bridges. Not all of them, but the big three were. And so we could have, we stayed with Austin, about 20 minutes away. We took the MARTA, which is the public transportation option, all the way in to the Peachtree Center. We could have walked from the MARTA to any of those three major hotels without ever leaving a building. 100% one of the best ways to beat street crowds. Street crowds, especially during the parade, can be very hard to beat. So recommendation, if you're in one of the three, I think it was the Marriott, the Hilton, and the what's the other one? Hyatt. Those three are connected, I believe. So stay in the sky bridges. They can get a little clogged sometimes, but not even close to as bad as what the streets can look like. I do want to point out, while we're in the same area, if you're trying to find somewhere to eat, there is the Peachtree Center. It is busy as heck, and you're going to be waiting in a long line and maybe have trouble finding somewhere to eat. So you'll end up sitting on the floor where you lose your keys, Austin. We found them, not to worry.
Called out.
And there's something called, what is it, the secret food court or something?
Yeah.
On the other side, that one is significantly lower in traffic. Highly recommend.
Yeah.
If you're not looking for something specific, go over there. There's like sandwiches. I think there's burgers and stuff. There's like a pastry place, and some other stuff too. Recommend that because you won't have to deal with as many crowds.
And the vendor hall has food too. Every floor of the vendor hall has a very small food court. So I recommend that too. If you don't have to leave if you've gotten in.
Yeah. It made navigating a lot easier. You still sometimes have to go outside to get to certain spots, like America's Mart for the vendor hall. You have to get out on the streets and stuff. And sometimes our lines started out on the streets, and it was a little tough to find. So always go to the room and figure out. And you might have to go outside and find out where that line actually starts, and then sometimes you'll find out where the line ends much later. But that kind of leads me to what I want to say is my lesson learned is you can't do it all. There is so much going on. There were so many panels. There were so many events. There's a huge cosplay parade going on. There's the vendor hall, which you could walk through for hours looking at all the stalls, that you simply can't do it all. And even the things that we said, like, hey, we want to do this and this, and we tried to build a schedule around that. We realized pretty quickly that it's just not possible to hit all of those things, because you might have a panel that you really want to go to, but the panel that you extraordinarily want to go to, that's way even more important, is immediately after it. And you're like, okay, if I can't get into that one, I can't do this one right before it, because it's in a different hotel and the time to walk there and get there is not worth it. And so there's sometimes things that you just have to skip, and you have to be okay with that. And you know, it stinks. You know, I would love to do every single panel. I'd love for them to be recorded or something, but you just have to kind of be okay with not doing everything there. That's why you have to go back again.
I will forever be dead inside that I missed the We Are the Gore panel. Austin sent me a TikTok of it after the fact.
Oh.
And I was so misty. That would have been such a good panel. Also, We Are the Gore, just side topic, robbed at the Emmys. Should have won.
If you put on that panel, please consider doing it again. So Austin,
please do it again.
Yeah,
please do it again. I want to do it so badly. I have been singing that song for weeks. Austin knows I've been singing it for weeks to him.
We didn't write this down on our notes, but I think it might be a good thing. We know we're going back next year. So what is something that you would want to see next year in a panel that maybe either didn't happen this year or you would want to see again? Because I know they do a shout out. If you're interested in they shout out like what some of their panel ideas are pretty early in the summer. And so what would you want to see for a panel next year?
Political panel. I thought the couple of political panels they had were absolutely terrific. The politics of Star Wars has always been absolutely fascinating to me. It's some of my favorite part of Star Wars. So I would love to see more political panels, and also more panels where I can learn how to sing We Are the Gore.
For me, I think, next year we'll have Mandalorian and Grogu, and we'll have Maul Shadow Lord most likely by that point. Yeah. So I think it would be, I would enjoy hearing panels about those, because right now we're kind of in a place where like most of the stuff that we talked about was like things that had just wrapped up, or her like looking way back on like Force Awakens or High Republic. I would enjoy like some things where like, what do we think is going to be next, after this movie or after that show wraps up.
Cool. I want to see, there wasn't much on it. Something that's more focused on they did High Republic, and I think they've done that for a number of years, but with High Republic wrapping up, I'm wondering what they'll do that's more of a book-centric or comic book-centric panel. Because I had a lot of fun in that as what I'll say is like a canon completionist or an attempted canon completionist. I really liked that panel on the High Republic and diving into a lot of the books, comics, things like that. So I would want to see something like that for next year.
It's a good idea. I would be interested. So I'm so fascinated by these multimedia projects. I think Star Wars' take on having these multimedia projects throughout its history have been awesome. I would love to see a panel on someone creating their own idea for what the next multimedia project should look like.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Another one that just hit me, I would love for them to do like a 501st Legion or Mandalorian Mercs or Droid Builders, like for dummies.
Yeah.
Like
for dummies, yes.
For somebody who's never done any of it, like, I would enjoy them to explain, like, what do we actually, what is being a member of?
How do they make those?
Actually
that'd
be
cool.
Because there were so many people, obviously, like as part of those groups, either in their armor or like wearing the shirts that have their like state stuff on it. I would enjoy learning like just what it means to be a part of those organizations.
I had mentioned it to y'all several times while we were there. I would also love like an educational panel. Like I want someone to teach me something about Star Wars. I love to learn about it, and analysis is fun. But like learning about different eras of Star Wars, even if it's stuff I already know, it's still fun to kind of go through like a seminar type feeling. Maybe a little bit less so than like a panel feeling.
Yeah, I could see that. So looking towards next year, we know we're going to go, but what are we looking towards for our next few weeks of episodes?
Yeah.
What do we have on our horizon here?
Well, we've got Sanctuary coming up. Austin's already read it. Mike's reading it right now, and I'm about to start reading it. So that's going to be very interesting. I've heard awesome things about the novel. We love the Bad Batch, so it's exciting to get into that. We've also got Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy Pieces of the Past. If you caught our last episode, we just reviewed the first season, so we're about to jump into season 2. Also very excited for that one as well.
Then we have a few more that are on the horizon. Those will be our next 2. We have a wedding coming up. I'm going to be getting married in just about, when this episode airs, about 3 weeks or so. And we're going to do a new type of episode we haven't done. It's going to be our wedding party draft in the Star Wars universe. So we are going to be drafting who our flower girl would be, who our best man would be, our bridesmaids, our groomsmen, all sorts of our wedding vendors and stuff like that, all from characters within the Star Wars universe. So that's going to be a fun, silly episode, I think, that we're going to put together. And then we're going to be looking towards some more of the books. We have a few books that are coming out this fall, with The Last Order coming out in October, and then Master of Evil, the Adam Christopher book, coming out in November. And we'll have a few more things and stories and stuff going on in between there, sprinkled throughout. And so we have a good number of episodes lined up, a few ideas, as we're in between a period where there's no shows, no movies, anything like that right now that we know of.
And if you have not yet read it, they did release a little blurb or short piece from Master of Evil. It's terrific.
Yes.
Please go read it. I'm really, really excited for that one.
Yeah. So, and if you have an idea, you have something that you want us to talk about, we're going to be looking to dive into some comic series as maybe Legacy of Vader wraps up in a while, or the Jedi Knight series wraps up when it's finished. We might be diving into those. But if there's something else that you want us to dive into, you have an idea for an episode, or just want to hear us talk about something in the Star Wars universe, drop us a line, give us a comment, let us know. You can hit us up at rogue3media@gmail.com. We're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, we're on TikTok. So you can always let us know what you're interested in hearing and what is important and positive in your Star Wars universe. But with that in mind, I think we are going to be letting you go. And so this is going to be Rogue 3 signing off.
Thanks everyone for joining us to talk about the galaxy far, far away. You can find us on Instagram, Blue Sky, YouTube, and TikTok as Rogue 3 Media. We look forward to talking with you at the next rendezvous point.